Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be taking up the discussion for the CSAT test that was held on the 12th of February 2017. This paper, of course, since it is a CSAT paper, had 80 questions. The 80 questions were equally divided into two sections on maths and English. Maths contained a total of 40 questions, English contained 40 questions, and in English there were 34 questions for reading comprehension. There were 6 questions given on verbal listening. Without further delay, let me take a look at the questions themselves. For English, question number 1, of course, came from English itself. The question or the passage that is given to you over here, very small, very brief passage, was based upon Brexit and the implications for India. The question very simply says, which of the following is not a logical inference? Now, when we consider the impact that it had, we considered the impact that was made in terms of investment, we considered the impact that it had on citizens that we have over there. There are 4 options given over here. A says Brexit is likely to affect Indian companies' investment in the UK. Is this mentioned over here? The answer is yes. In fact, in the second or the third sentence from the end, he says that it did affect our investment. So A is definitely a rational inference. B says the UK market constitutes a great proportion of Indian companies. In the fourth or the fifth sentence, he says there are 800 Indian companies in the UK, more than the combined number in the rest of Europe. So statement B is also all right. Option D says India has multiple concerns regarding the Brexit outcome. We are concerned with our citizens, we are concerned with the investment, so D is also right. Only option that is not substantiated by the passage is option C, Indian interest in the USA. Whether there are any interests that we have in the USA or what they are is not mentioned anywhere in the passage. Answer for question number 1, option C. Question number 2 similarly is based upon one small and very simple passage. It talks about the healthcare system, it talks about the National Rural Health Mission. The question very simply says, which of the following is the most logical, rational and crucial message that is implied? The author in this passage says that in India, the healthcare system has 2 problems. 1, it is not affordable for everyone, and number 2, it is not accessible to everyone. Any answer that includes both these elements will definitely be a final answer. Option A says, healthcare system in India is in a bad shape and continues to worsen. Problem with this option is that it is not, or it does not mention affordability or accessibility. It makes a very general statement that there are problems. What those problems are, it does not tell us, so A is definitely wrong. Option C says the developments in the field of healthcare almost never reach the population of rural areas. Here he is talking about accessibility, but affordability has not been mentioned. Option D says India lags behind its western counterparts. Again, a very general statement, but he does not tell us why exactly we lag behind. Only option that includes both these elements is option B. It is easily accessible and affordable healthcare should reach all citizens irrespective of their caste, income or their location. Therefore, the answer for question number 2, option B for Bombay. Question number 3 given over here talks about, in fact, they've used the word article, although ideally it should be section 124. It talks about section 124, talks about sedition laws, and it says that these laws are a legacy of our historical past, of our British past. The question says, which of the following best sums up the above passage? The author in the passage says that these laws are very old and the manner in which they are currently being executed is something that may have been appropriate earlier, but certainly cannot be considered appropriate today. Option B over here, let me start with. B says Indian politicians and administrators fail to update British laws. The answer is absolutely correct, except one problem. It talks about British laws, whereas the passage specifically talks about one such kind of laws, which were sedition laws. So B cannot be considered right. C says a law promulgated in 1860. Again, when we say a law, it talks about laws in general, but not necessarily sedition. Option D says India lags behind many other countries in updation of laws. Again, updation of laws is laws in general, but not specifically sedition laws. Only option that talks about sedition laws specifically is option A, that it is highly out of sync with the present times and deserves to be scrapped. Answer for question number 3, option A. Question number 4 talks about the research that was conducted, or the study that was conducted by the American Institute for Cancer Research, where they say that a person who's overweight, a person who's obese has significant risk of developing some forms of cancer, while drinking alcohol or consuming tobacco increases the second major type of cancer. Question says, what is the most logical, rational and crucial message that is implied? Only one thing that he's talking about over here, the connection between an individual's weight and the tendency or the propensity or the susceptibility of developing cancer. Option A says regular exercise is the best prevention for cancer. He does not mention regular exercise anywhere. Option B says alcohol and tobacco consumed in moderation produce no health hazard. We can say that the health hazard is less, but we cannot say there is no health hazard. So B is also wrong. C says one can surely prevent cancer. Again, we can say there is a possibility that you can prevent cancer, but we cannot say you will surely prevent cancer if you stay away from alcohol or tobacco. Only option that mentions the correlation between the two is answer option D for Delhi. That if you keep a check on your weight, there is a high possibility that you will not contract cancer. Answer for question number 4, D for Delhi. Question number 5 talks about the presence of neglected tropical diseases, and it mentions the WHO and its opinions upon the same. Question says, with reference to the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. Number 1, most of the people living in tropical and subtropical climates cannot afford to buy medicines even after being afflicted with the disease. Now, in the second sentence, in fact, he says while within the wide spectrum of diseases, funding and research get diverted to afflictions which have a bigger market. When we say they have a bigger market, that means they are able to earn that money, implying that in these countries where there are tropical or subtropical climates, many people are not able to afford that disease, which is why the market does not exist. So, statement 1 is definitely a valid assumption. Second, lot of research funding is allocated to the diseases affecting the population of developed countries. Again, if we consider, he says that poor investment in research activities affect the people of poor countries, implying that those countries that are not poor get adequate money for investment, which is what statement 2 says. So, 2 is also a valid assumption. Answer for question number 5, both 1 and 2, which is option C. Question number 6 again is a very small passage that is given to us, talking about Earth Overshoot Day. He says that this year, whichever is the year that he is referring to, August 8th became our Earth Overshoot Days, whereas in the past the time would come somewhere towards late September. Question says which of the following is a logical inference. Statement number 1 over here says, while economies, populations and resource demands grow, the size of the Earth and its natural resource base remain the same. What does that imply? Earlier in September we would overshoot, now in August we have started overshooting. The Earth remains the same, the resources that we can take from the Earth remain the same, implying that the population and our demands must be increasing at an exponential pace, which is why 1 is definitely valid. Second statement says Earth's ecosystems are on the verge of degradation and would possibly end up collapsing. Between a period of, let's say, 2000 on the one hand, and let's say this passage is with reference to even to a year such as 2016, in just 16 years, if you moved more than a month and a half, it implies that sometime in the future you will not be able to sustain this course of action at all. Benefit with the second statement, he says possibly end up collapsing. Possibly gives us significant flexibility, which is why both 1 and 2 are right, and the answer for question number 6, option C. Question number 7, very small, very simple. It says that in today's world, everyone is of the opinion that we have no social superiors. Now, the concern is that when it comes to social references, we are willing for this social equality rather, we are willing to admit that we should have no superiors, but we are not willing to concede the fact that for this we will also have to consider that we have no inferiors. The author mentions the problem that while people want that nobody should consider them their superior, they are not willing to consider also that anyone inferior to them should not be treated as such. 4 options given over here. A says equality is finally reaching out to the world. A is definitely wrong because we still believe that there are people who are inferior to us. C says socially everyone is equal. Again, we haven't been able to achieve that equality. D says equality in human society is a flawed principle. Whether it is flawed or not, we cannot say. B says the disappearance of class distinction is far from complete. This of course is right, because yes, while I want is far from complete because we want that people should not consider themselves as superior, that inferior element we have not been able to address, which is why question number 7, answer is B for Bombay. Next passage that is given to you is passage which is marked for you as passage number 1. This passage talks about Indian Standard Time, whether we should have it, what are the benefits, what are the potential disadvantages, contains 3 questions. I will go straight to the questions. Question number 16 says, the passage says that IST should be advanced by half an hour. Which of the following is not a valid reason for doing this? Since we are talking about not a valid reason, Very simply use elimination. Option A says it would reduce the energy demand in the country in evenings due to domestic lighting, especially with reference to the northeastern parts of the country. The statement is correct. Second, it would reduce crime. The second paragraph in the very first sentence, he says one of the intangible benefits would be a reduction in crime. So 2 is also definitely right. Third statement says it would mainstream the northeastern states and would result in a favorable political impact. This is what is given in the second part of the first paragraph. So 3 is also right. Fourth says it could increase the overall working hours and boost national productivity. Whether national productivity increases or not, I cannot say. Which is why answer for question number 16, option D for Delhi. Question number 17, the second question on this passage says, according to the passage, the most suitable reason to overlook the side effect of sending children to school in the dark winter mornings and go ahead with the IST advancement is because of what? In fact, to consider this now, option B says bureaucracy which will take a decision on IST advancement is least concern. The bureaucracy may be rigid, they may have a conservative outlook, but I certainly cannot use the words least concern. So B is definitely wrong. C says the problem will be faced by children in northern India while other parts of India will be unaffected. Two concerns over here. Number one, it is not a problem because the solution has already been mentioned that you can change the school timings. Second, the problem will not only be in North India, it will also be in northwestern India, which is why C again is not a viable option. D says children should learn and should be taught to adjust to the environment right from an early age. This is nowhere mentioned or supported by the passage. Answer for question number 17, option A. Feasible solution for this particular side effect is available. What is the available solution? Change the timings of the schools, which is why question number 17, answer is option A. Question number 18 says, according to the author, which of the following is not a valid reason for bureaucratic apathy? When we say not a valid reason, again we are looking for elimination. Option A says conservativeness of the bureaucracy, which is directly mentioned, risk avoiding bureaucratic tendency, which again is mentioned, bureaucratic aversion to untried solutions, which again is mentioned towards the end of the second paragraph. Only option that is not mentioned, bureaucratic apprehensions about increased workload. Whether they will have an increased workload, whether they are resistant to that, I cannot say. And the answer for question number 18, option D for Delhi. Passage 2 given after this again is the same. Passage 2 contains 2 questions. Here we are talking about the government's contemplation or the government's proposal that they will provide universal insurance coverage to all those people who are injured in a motor vehicle accident. How it will benefit people, how more than 50% people can be saved if they get assistance in the golden hour and so on. 2 questions over here. Question number 19 says, with reference to the passage, consider the following 3 statements. Statement number 1 says, road accidents kill more number of people than heart disease and cancer combined. This is not given anywhere, so I cannot say. Option number 2 says, or statement 2 says, a lot of road accident victims in India lose their lives because of a lack of medical assistance, which is directly mentioned in the 6th or the 7th sentence, so it is correct. Third, the proposed bill, if passed and implemented properly, is likely to bring down road fatalities. Why will it bring down fatalities? Because a lot of these people could get assistance within the first 1 hour, reducing fatalities by as much as 50%. Answer is 2 and 3, which is option D for Delhi. Question number 20, again a part of the same passage. The question says, again 2 statements that are given. First statement, trauma centers along the highways play an important role in reducing medical road fatalities. Definitely correct. Second, medical expenses should not be a critical issue in the treatment of road accident victims. Problem is that they are. In fact, it is because the medical expenses are a critical issue that many people do not get appropriate, timely or adequate medical assistance, which is why answer is only 1, which is option A. Question number 21 and question number 22 are 2 very straightforward questions based on syllogisms. For syllogisms, again, even if you believe that you are getting the answer very easily, very naturally, put pen to paper, make a Venn diagram, solve it within a matter of seconds, and your answer will be 100% valid. For example, question number 21 gives 2 statements, some pens are pencils. How will we make that? Some pens are pencils. Second statement, some pencils are cows. So cows can come over here or cows can also come over here. 2 conclusions given over here. Number 1, pencils are either pens or cows. But over here, these pencils are neither pens nor cows. So 1 is definitely wrong. Second, some pens are cows, which is right in this case but wrong in this case. So 2 is also wrong. Answer for question number 21, neither 1 nor 2, which is D for Delhi. Question number 22, again similarly on syllogisms, contains 3 statements. First statement says some apples are bananas. How will you make that? Some apples are bananas. Second statement says all bananas are oranges. When you say all bananas are oranges, oranges can come in this manner or oranges can also come in this manner, becoming, let's say, the super circle. Third statement says no oranges are lemons. So whatever oranges are, they and lemons will definitely be different. Option A now says some apples are lemons. If I ignored this, I could have made lemons like this also if I was considering O1. Now while statement A is right in this case, it is definitely wrong in that case. Second, all lemons are apples, not necessarily true, because in that case no lemons are apples. Third, all apples are oranges. All apples are oranges in this case in O2 but not in O1. But D, no bananas are lemons. All the bananas are definitely oranges. No orange is a lemon. Therefore, I can be certain that no banana is a lemon. Answer for question number 22, D for Delhi. Passage 3 that is given to you in this passage contains question number 23 onwards and contains 3 questions. The passage talks about the state of Kerala and says that in Kerala, a lot of times educated youth are not given adequate or appropriate opportunities, and this is creating some problems for the state. Question number 23 says, what is the prime concern of the author in the above passage? 3 statements that are mentioned. Statement 1, Kerala does not have jobs good enough for its educated Keralites. This is what he was talking about, that many of them who are educated move out of the country, move out of the state, but are not able to get adequate employment within or appropriate employment within the state. So 1 is definitely right. Second, industry shifting out of Kerala due to the inability to meet the expenses of the educated Keralites. Again, they move out because they cannot afford. If they want to give these people employment, they will not be able to afford it. Option C says, the migrant workers are encroaching upon employment space of Kerala. Migrant workers come, they choose to work at a lower salary, but they are not encroaching upon it because the jobs any which way are vacant. Answer is only 1 and 2, which is option B for Bombay. Question number 24 says, according to the passage, the growing inequalities are about what? The keyword to keep in mind in this particular question is the word inequality. Option A says, gaps between the job available and the expectation of educated Keralites. Here we are talking about a mismatch, but we are not talking about inequality. So A certainly is not right. B says gap between supply and demand of skilled laborers, of skilled workers. Again, we are talking about a mismatch, but we are not talking about inequalities. Option C says gap between educated and uneducated laborers. Again, we are talking about a mismatch, but not about inequality. The only one that does talk about inequality is the gap between the incomes of the richest and the poorest, where the richest are able to earn 6 times more than, or the richest 5% earn 6 times more than the poorest 5% do. Answer for question number 24, D for Delhi. Question number 25. According to the passage, which of the following can be undertaken by Kerala to boost its economy? In fact, if I want to answer this question, somewhere towards the end, second paragraph right towards the end, he says, Kerala too has to chart out new economic activities which make use of its unique strengths. What are your unique strengths? That you have a very educated workforce, a very educated human capital. Statement number 1, create public spaces such as libraries and parks where people can freely exchange ideas. Since they are educated, since they are qualified, 1 is definitely correct. Second, panchayats and other local bodies must find ways in which the growth of agriculture and tourism sectors can enrich each other. Again, towards the end of the passage, substantiated, so 2 is correct. Third, private healthcare services should be provided in most of the hospitals for better facilities. Our concern is not providing private. In fact, this is the opposite of what the author states. The author states that it is not the private sector which should be providing these, but rather the public sector. The private sector's involvement has created problems rather than benefits, which is why question number 25, answer is only 1 and 2, which is option B for Bombay. Question number 41 and 42 after this are again 2 questions that are based on what we call mutual exclusivity, or syllogisms based on mutual exclusivity. For these questions, 2 things. Number 1, read the directions carefully. And number 2, keeping this in mind, when, for example, here what is the direction for you? The two both cannot be false, but they can be true. When we say that they cannot be false but they can be true, what does that mean? That two combinations will be considered, right? All with some and none with some are not. Very simple, very straightforward question. There is no need to make a Venn diagram. I go straight to question number 41. In question number 41, all and some give me 1 and 2. No and some are not, give me 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 both are mentioned. Answer for question number 41, D for Delhi. Similarly, question number 42, all and some are 1 and 3. No and some are not at 2 and 4. 2 and 4 is not given to me. Answer is 1 and 3, which is option again D for Delhi. After this comes passage 4, and passage 4 now contains 4 questions in all. Passage 4 says that non-communicable diseases that are linked to lifestyles have surpassed communicable diseases as the leading cause of lost productivity and of deaths. There is tobacco consumption, there are people who are diagnosed with diabetes, lifestyle choices which lead to diseases which even lead to death. Going to the question straight away. Question number 43 says, according to the passage, which of the following is or are a cause of the spread of non-communicable diseases in India? Statement number 1, ill-conceived official policies that allow cities to grow at the cost of walking spaces and green cover. This is directly mentioned in the very first passage itself. So 1 is definitely correct. Second, bad eating habits and other lifestyle choices made by people. Somewhere in the middle of the passage he says that we cannot eat, we cannot drink, we cannot walk, we cannot cycle, and we do not understand the detriment of having heavily processed foods or heavily processed food items that are available. So 2 is definitely right. Third says genetic predisposition, this is nowhere mentioned. Fourth, air pollution and construction dust, again directly stated. Answer is 1, 2 and 4, which is option D for Delhi. Question number 44 says, in the passage the author puts the responsibility for the spread of non-communicable diseases in India partly on official choices because of what? Statement 1, the author feels some lifestyle choices made by people are actually forced on them due to poorly conceived official policies. You are not giving us adequate infrastructure, you are not planning our cities well, that is why we cannot walk, we cannot exercise. 1 is correct. Second, government policies are focused entirely on the prevention of communicable diseases. The government is giving more attention to communicable diseases, but we cannot use a word as strong as entirely. So 2 is definitely wrong. Third, official policy is refusing to accept the intensity. They are not again giving it adequate attention, but we cannot say that they are refusing to do it. Very strong words, so 2 and 3 are wrong. Answer is only 1, which is option A. Question number 45 says, according to the passage, it can be inferred that the spread of non-communicable diseases is likely to hurt India because of what? Number 1, premature deaths. Is this mentioned in the first sentence? Yes. Lost productivity, again mentioned in the very first sentence of the passage. Both 1 and 2 are right. Answer for 45, option C. Question number 46, which of the following is most essentially discussed in the passage? What we are most essentially considering or concerned with are lifestyle diseases, are non-communicable diseases. Option A says, latest statistics, the statistics are not mentioned anywhere, so A is definitely wrong. B says transition of Indian population from healthy to poor lifestyle choices. This is mentioned as a reason, but it is not what we are essentially discussing. D says non-communicable diseases adversely impacting the productivity of the working population and increasing the possibility of premature death. This again is right, but our concern more importantly is also measures through which it can be curbed, which is why neither A nor B nor D. Answer for question number 46, option C. Question number 47 is a small passage, in fact, that asks you one simple question. In this passage, we are talking about the benefits of exercising early in the morning, and the question says, which of the following is the most logical corollary? A says one should not exercise in the evenings. He says exercising in the morning is preferable, but he does not say that exercise in the evening is an inefficient practice. That I cannot qualify, so A is definitely wrong. B says exercise in the morning is the best way. It is a good way. Whether it is the best way, I cannot say. C, exercise gives best results in the morning as there is less noise. It does not mention noise anywhere, which is why for question number 47, Neither A nor B nor C. Answer is option D for Delhi. Question number 48 says that it is very important to create a work culture where people feel confident enough, where people feel comfortable enough to admit any mistake, any error that they have made. Question says, what is the most critical inference that can be made from the above passage? Option B says, no one has ever tasted success. I can say a lot of people may not have tasted the success, but I cannot use the word no one. So B is definitely wrong. C says, a dedicated employee reports his errors to his seniors to contribute to the success of the organization. This again is not mentioned anywhere, so I cannot say. D says, it is advisable to learn from other people's mistakes. The passage does the exact opposite. It says it is important to learn from your own mistakes, encourage people to admit those mistakes, which is why I answer for question number 48, option A, that a good leader does not shy away from acknowledging failure and admits this failure and provides an environment where people can accept any failure that they have committed. Answer for question number 48, again option A. Question number 49 talks about something that he refers to as counterfactual thinking. What is counterfactual thinking? The example that he talks about is a person, or is the fact that he says that a person who wins a silver medal will be less happy with his achievement as compared to a person who wins a bronze medal who will be more happy. What is the reason for that? That the person who wins the silver medal will realize that if he had beaten just one more person, he would have gotten the gold. Whereas the person who wins the bronze medal realizes that if he had not been able to achieve this, many other people have not been able to achieve this one medal. The question says, which of the following is the most valid assumption? Option B says, happiness is decided not by where you stand but where you come from. What is the purpose of the passage? To tell us that any such feeling, any such assessment that you have is relative, which does not depend upon where you come from but rather how you think. So B is definitely wrong. C says there is not much difference in the happiness levels of the gold, silver and bronze medalists. This is the exact opposite of what he says. He says there is a significant difference. D says happiness as an emotion is an eccentric thing. Eccentric is something that does not have any credible logic, which I cannot say. What I can say, however, is that any such feeling is relative in nature. Answer for question number 49, option A. Passage 5 finally is one of the last big passages that is given to you, and this passage again contains 4 questions. We are talking about labor laws or child labor laws in the country. Mentions a lot of facts, a lot of statistics. The more the data, the more the facts in a passage, higher the chances that the questions will be factual in nature. To look at these questions, question number 50 says, the author's central focus is on which of the following? B says, emphasizing the need for reforms that address the root causes of child labor. The focus is not to address the causes, the focus is the critical analysis of the situation. So B is definitely wrong. A says applauding India's efforts, which definitely is not right. We are not applauding, rather we are criticizing. D says emphasizing the need for awareness about the condition of children in Indian villages. Whether it is only for villages or the country collectively, I cannot state. Answer for question number 50, option C. Highlighting the various flaws in child related labor laws passed by the Constitution. Answer for question number 50, option C. Question number 51 gives 3 statements. Statement 1 says, according to the passage, the amendments in the RTI Act has led to what? A, or number 1, children clandestinely skipping school to cater to their family's financial needs. What is clandestinely? Secretly, without the information of others, which is mentioned in the very first paragraph. Somewhere towards the end, they are likely to lie about school attendance and may unwillingly comply with contractors. So 1 is definitely right. Second, children conspicuously working for employers instead of attending schools. Conspicuously means with the knowledge, with the awareness of everyone. They don't do this, they do it in a clandestine, in a secret manner. So 2 is definitely wrong. Third, shrinking of family incomes as parents cannot employ children. This again is contradiction because parents allow them and encourage them to work. Answer for question number 51, only 1, which is option A. Question number 52 gives you 2 statements. According to the passage, the national policy on child labor of 1987 does which of the 2? 1, focuses on the general development programs benefiting child laborers, directly stated in the passage. Second, is an improved version of the right of children to free and compulsory education. There is no such comparison made between the national policy and the right to education, so I cannot say. And the answer for question number 52, only 1, which is option A. Question number 53 gives us 4 answer options. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? A says a child of 18 years of age working in a factory can be convicted under Article 24 of the Constitution. The passage says that it will apply to children who are below the age of 14. What would happen to an 18-year-old? I cannot say. B, child prohibition, the Child Labour Prohibition Act prohibited the employment of children below the age of 14 in 80 hazardous companies, not 80. Answer actually should be 88. So, this statement is definitely wrong. Sorry, not even 88, 83. Third, or option D, children between the age of 6 and 14 have been receiving free education. Whether they've been receiving this education or not, I cannot say. Only option available, option C, that the amendments in the new law have further aggravated the conditions of the poor families. Question number 53, answer is option C. After this are question number 61 and question number 62. Question number 61 says either Amar, in fact let me take a look at them in a sequence, either Amar and Baban are of the same age, or Amar is younger than Baban. This is how we represent it. Statement 2, either Charu and Devang are of the same age, or Devang is younger than Charu. That is the second. Third one says definitely that Baban is younger than Charu. If Baban is younger than Charu, then Charu is definitely older than Baban. So, whether A is less than B or A is equal to B, A will definitely be less than C. Answer for question number 61, option D for Delhi. Question number 62 is again a question based on syllogism with multiple options. Nonetheless, some of these let me look at. First statement here says all oranges are apples. So, all oranges are apples. Second statement, some apples are grapes. Grapes can come like this, or grapes can even overlap with oranges. Some grapes are lemons. So, lemons can come over here, lemons can come over here, lemons can come over here, and lemons can also come over here. Next statement, some lemons are melons. So, melons can come over here, melons can come over here, melons can come over here, and n number of other options that are available to you. Even as I stop at this statement, there are multiple interpretations that will exist. The question says, which of these conclusions does not follow from the given statements? When you have multiple options, all that you are looking for is that is there any statement which will not be right in any of the circumstances at all. A says some grapes are oranges. When you say some grapes are oranges, that can be right in one case. So, one I cannot mark as incorrect. B says some melons are oranges. Some melons are oranges again. These melons were over here. Melons could have come like this also. So, I cannot say. Third, some grapes are melons. Grapes and melons could have also come like this. Some lemons are melons, so could have come like this. D says all lemons are melons. When you say all lemons are melons, that I definitely cannot say, because the passage says some lemons are melons, which is my answer for question number 62, option D for Delhi. Passage 6 given to you again contains 4 questions, and passage 6 talks about the problems that Mongolia is facing. Till a few years back, Mongolia was very comfortable, the economy was doing well, mining was picking up, but suddenly they've been facing a lot of problems. Their currency has collapsed, orders, imports from China have collapsed. 4 questions given over here. Question number 63, which of the following factors is responsible for the economic crisis of Mongolia? 3 statements given over here. Statement number 1, China's diminishing reliance on the imported goods from Mongolia. Passage stated that the major demand was coming from China. If that has collapsed, that is definitely a factor. Second, people's lack of trust in the ruling party of Mongolia. The statement is right, but it is not a reason, it is a consequence. So, 2 is definitely wrong. Third, accumulation of external debt. This again did not cause the economic crisis. This was a consequence of the economic crisis, which is why for question number 63, answer is only 1, which is option A. 64 says, according to the passage, the following have led to speculation that Mongolia could face a sovereign default or need a bailout because of what? 4 statements that are given here now. Statement number 1 says Mongolian government's incapability of concluding agreements with foreign powers. This is nowhere mentioned in the passage, so I cannot say. Second says Mongolia seeking loans and financial assistance from other countries. Towards the end of the passage, in fact, this second last sentence, he says Mongolia has borrowed massively from other nations. So, 2 is definitely right. Third says the falling currency of Mongolia. This again is not cannot be conclusively ascertained. Fourth, failure of Mongolia to fulfill its financial obligations. The answer again is correct. Answer for question number 64, 2 and 4, which is option C. Question number 65. Mongolia is called a landlocked country because of what? Because of the fact that it is completely enclosed by neighbors. It does not have any empty or contiguous borders. Answer for question number 65, option C. Some students will also believe what exactly are contiguous or non-contiguous borders, which is option A. A non-contiguous border is something that is not confined to one continent, but rather stretches across two different or multiple continents. Answer is neither E nor B nor D, but option C. And question number 66, very similar to the rationale of the reason given in 63. Which of the following can be called a consequence of the economic crisis of Mongolia? 4 options given over here. Again, the consequence and the cause. A says the depreciation of the tugrek. This is not a consequence, this is a reason. So A is definitely wrong. C says price of commodities manufactured in Mongolia taking a hit. This again is a reason rather than a consequence, so C is wrong. D says facing an external debt crisis. This is neither a reason nor a consequence, but rather is speculation on the part of the author, which is why answer for question number 66, option B for Bombay. After this, there are 2 passages given right towards the end. Question number 77 and 78 are based upon one small passage which talks about what he refers to as hope thinking. Is hope thinking important? Is it beneficial? The answer is yes. But the author says that we should not focus only upon the future. More importantly, we should be concerned with the present. Keeping this in mind, question number 77, what is the view of the author on hope thinking? Option A, we should have a clear picture of the future, not about the future, more importantly about the present. B, we should have a one-to-one balance between the present and the future, not one-to-one, more importantly focus upon the present. Option C, we should allot most of our time to thinking about the future, not to the future but towards the present. D, we should not be too concerned about the future and should be rooted in the present, which is what the author says. Answer for question number 77, D for Delhi. Question number 28, according to the passage, being anchored in now gives you what? 2 statements given here. Statement 1, paves the way for nature to embark on the right path to the next phase, which is what he talks about in the last sentence, where he says that we can achieve equilibrium. And second, creates an aura of balanced forces and ample space for the next thing to shape up. Ample space we cannot really justify. Answer for question number 78, only one, which is option A. And finally, the last 2 questions based upon one small passage as to how our conception of democracy, of an egalitarian society, of equality has changed over time. The author in this passage says that for a long period of time, till we finally finally invented farming, our society was largely egalitarian, was largely equal. Question number 79 says, in fact gives us 4 answer options again. The question says, what does the comparison between archaeological evidence and hunter-gatherer bands that survived into the 20th century suggest? It suggests that we had equality. Option A says, in most societies, women dominated a subservient male population. Neither dominated the other, so A is definitely wrong. C says, most societies believe that males should be allowed to lead. It is the opposite of what A is saying, but again it was not domination of one gender over the other. Option D says, in most societies all power was vested in a dominant class, there was no domination, it was equality. Only one option mentions equality, which is option B for Bombay. And question number 80 finally, what was the political situation in 3500 BC as compared to the Ice Age? If we consider 3500 BC, by this time we have moved not towards an equal society or an egalitarian society, but rather towards domination. Option B says the government was inching towards oligarchy. Oligarchy means the rule of a few. It was not the rule of a few, it was the rule of only one. C says the government was inching towards democracy. Democracy was before that, but not after 3500 BC. D says the government was inching towards liberalism. We were not liberal anymore, we were not egalitarian anymore, rather we were oppressive. Only one option tells us the correct answer, which is that the government was starting to inch towards autocracy. And the answer for question number 80, option A. This is the English part, 40 questions. Beyond this will now come also the discussion for the maths questions. Thank you very much.